Hello everyone, welcome to the 12th tutorial series in the top-down zombie game in Java. And guys, I forgot that we actually got to double digits, and so that's a yay for us. And the other positive thing is that we're almost done with writing basic engine code, and we're almost getting into moving on to actual game logic code. So now in this tutorial, we're going to be creating an input manager for the key input and the mouse input to make it easier to process keys in the future, if we need input keys, if we need access to keys. Currently, the current system is okay, it's pretty satisfactory, but however, if we're trying to get some few tasks done, it might actually get a little bit complicated, and it might give us unnecessary code in the wrong classes. So guys, by the way, don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified every single time I upload a new video. So it also kind of helps you out as well as helps me out. So let's get started. So inside here, I would like to create a new class and name it as input manager. So it's going to manage all our input. Now mainly in this tutorial, we're going to have the input manager be a utility class for the key input, basically. So why would I need to have another wrapper class around the key input, for example? Now the key input is amazing already. It has functionality. We can detect if a key was pressed, if a key was released, and that's about it. What we cannot detect if a key was pressed for the first time before release. If it's not hold, we cannot detect if a key is being held pressed down or if a key is pressed for the first time. So some small things like that. And that's pretty crucial inside a game because, for example, if I was able to just continuously press the G button and I was trying to throw a grenade and I was just holding down the grenade button, all grenades would be thrown at once. And we're trying to avoid that. Anyway, so let's get started. So the first method I would like to have will be to check if the key was pressed for the first time. Alright, so it's going to be a public static method void. So public static void, no, it's going to return a boolean. Is first press, and we're going to take in a key value and key parameter, and we're just going to create a simple boolean value equals to false, and we're going to return false. Now for this, I need to go back to the key input class and then basically create another set of arrays of keys of boolean to store previous key presses. So I'm going to call this prev key presses. So as we set all of this, we're just simply going to say also need to set this up. Control C, prev key presses, prev and so basically what this is going to store is the previous key press, basically. So, and what we're going to say here is and basically what we're going to say is prev key presses at get key code equals to keys e.get keycode. Keys at e.get keycode. And yeah, that's about it, because since we're detecting previous key presses, I don't think we need to do this for the release. No, I think, oh, we also need to do this as well for the release. Control C and Control V. And then inside our input manager, so we're basically going to say this. Now, if, I'm just gonna have a simple if statement and say if what? So if the previous key pressed is true and the current key pressed is false. Wait, what? If the previous key pressed is true, then we return. Then we just end the method. If key input dot get previous pref. Yeah, I need to have a function for this. Control C, Control V, get previous key pressed. Previous key press. Now I'm just gonna save as prev key prev key input dot get previous key press key. So if this is true, then we need to end the method. We don't need to do anything because it's not true. So return false. Yeah. So if the previous key press was true, then return false. Now if previous pref, now else, since this condition passes, then what we're gonna say is, and I don't know, if key input dot get key pressed key, then we're going to return true, and then else return false, and then we don't need this value placeholder anymore. And yeah, so let me try and explain this code. So basically what this kind of means is that since we're looking for a first press is only true if the previous press of the same key isn't true. So what this code basically comes and says, okay, is the previous key of the same key code, was it pressed or was it not? So if it was pressed, then this is not the first press, so we just end it anyway. So we don't bother checking for the next condition. Now if it was pressed and the current key is pressed, then we can return true. And if the current key isn't pressed, then return false. So let's save this and go test it out. So inside the game manager, so I want to check if okay, let's check for the G key. Is first press for the G key. So yeah, if input manager dot is first press key event dot vkg we're just going to display first time G is pressed. Now we're running and for some reason first time G was pressed, and it's working. For some reason it's not working as it's supposed to. I don't know why. So if I press and hold, this message is supposed to only come once. First time G was pressed should only come once. Pressed. Oh, we need to set that to false. Okay, and I understand now. We need to get a reset. I need to create another function to reset the whatever press. So public static void reset press, reset key press, key prev press. We didn't reset it, so it's going to take an integer key, and what we're going to do is just going to say prev key press at key is equal to false, and then we reset it right at the end of the function. And then we reset it in here. Input that. And yeah, I think now it should run. It should work properly. Okay, for some reason it's still not working. Okay, well this seems to be an error. Let me just try and fix it. Hello guys, I'm back, and yeah, it took me around 20 minutes give or take to figure out the solution, and yeah, I'm not gonna code it. I already have the solution. So first thing I did that I think I did wrong was doing this bit of code here again. So I just set it to false. That way it has it resetting whenever it has the prev key, the previous key presses array, boolean array, resetting every single time after you release a key. That's the first thing I did wrong. And the other thing that I did wrong was inside this function, had all of this code was kind of messy. So yeah, so basically the logic was right, it's just I didn't code it right. I didn't code the logic properly. So let's revise the logic. So the logic was, if the previous key input was true, then the result is false. I didn't use an else if statement, I just went on with an if statement. So else if it is not true, then we do this, and then we have to reset the key input, the previous buttons, the previous keys, and yeah, we're good to go. So now if we run it, I'm pressing and holding G, it just stays there once. First time G was pressed, and I let go, and then I press again. If I multiple tap G, that's when it comes up. So now we've got that system working. Now we need to have a much more comfortable, so I'm just going to delete this piece of code, much more comfortable way of referring to letters. So for example, if I don't want to refer inside the game manager, I don't want to refer to key event.vkw because it's kind of long and it's kind of unnecessary and long. You can do it if you want to, but yeah, it's just gonna make the series, this tutorial video much longer. So you can end here if you want to, but if you're willing to learn, you can just go on, because I can see that the video is becoming much longer than usual. Yeah, it's going to 14 minutes. I think we might even reach 20 minutes. So anyway, so yeah, now I'm going to create a new data collection method. So previously we worked with arrays, which were a collection of data, Now the other thing we're going to work with is a hash map. So we're going to import java.tutor, a hash map. I'm not going to import that. Hash map. And there we go. And this is going to be a little bit confusing. So anyways, if you're familiar in other programming languages, a hash map would be something like a dictionary or a library. It depends which programming language you work with. So yeah, so a hash map basically stores lots of data, a collection of data. It can grow in size, unlike an array, and it stores with a key and a value. It has a key and it has a value. I don't know how to explain it, but you're just going to understand it anyways. So first thing is we want to store integers and represent them as strings. For example, I don't want to go inside my game. I don't want to write this long piece of code. I don't want to write key event.vk.ws. Rather, what I want to say is input manager.get key pressed, and then I just put in the key, whichever key that I choose, be it W or S. So anyway, I'm gonna store this as a string. So I'm gonna choose string as the key, and as the value I'm gonna choose integer. This basically means a string is a key, the string is a key, and an integer is the value that's actually going to be stored. And then I'm just gonna call it keys dictionary, keys, and yep, and it'll make it static and private. But I want to be able to change this, and inside the input we create a constructor. Inside the constructor, I'm just going to say keys equals to new hash map of string and integer of type string and integer, and we're just going to write keys. No. We're just going to write this, and there we go. Now we're done. Now, first, this isn't the only thing we're going to do. So we're just going to look at the keys we're going to use. We're going to use WASD keys. So I'm just going to say keys.add .put. Actually, I forgot to use this. So this should be .put key and value. So for key, I'm going to use W, capital W, now small letter W, and for that we're going to represent that as key event .vkw, and we're going to go sorry about that was just my dog's barking. And yeah, so and then we're going to say we're just gonna copy and paste this basically. So we're going to have the WASD keys, Control C, 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to change all the stuff. A, S, D, and I just want to change this to A, S, D. So we can actually do this for all the keys, but I don't want to do it for all the keys. I just want to do it for the keys that we're going to be using in our game. So we're going to be using WSD. We also might use Q and E. Q and E. also going to use R for reload and stuff. I'm just gonna call it reload. And it's gonna save it as R, and G for grenade. I'll call this grenade 1. Because you're gonna have grenade. Nah, I'm just gonna leave it as grenade, yeah. Grenade for G. And what other keys do we want to have? So we have reload, grenade, if we're going to have turrets into our game. So it's gonna have a turret, Control V. And if we wanted to add, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna put 1, 2, and 3. Keys 1, 2, and 3 available as well. So if you wanted more keys, you're just gonna add it. Oh, this is not a V, this should be W. What? No ways. It shouldn't be. Okay, I don't know what key I was going to add there, but I'm just gonna remove it. If I need it, I'll add it. Okay, that's just this small error NetBeans usually has, and yeah, I have to do that real quick. One, 2, and then 3. And charity, I'm gonna have it as T. So these are the keys we're going to have in our game for now anyways, so yeah. So, and now we're just going to have a simple function, public static boolean, and we're just simply gonna say, I'm gonna name it get key pressed, get key pressed. It's going to return the value of the key that is pressed, that is continuously pressed, and we're just going to take a string instead of an integer value for a key, so I'm just going to call it string key. And then what we're just going to do is just going to return key input dot get key pressed, and then we're just gonna say keys dot get object, and yeah, that's it. Now for the same thing, we're also gonna have a public static boolean, public static boolean. Sorry about that. My dogs were a little bit agitated. I don't know why, but yeah. So public static boolean is first. What was it again? Is first pressed. Yeah. Public static boolean. I forgot. Oh yeah, is first pressed. Is first pressed. String key, and we're just gonna return is first press that function with just say when while saying keys dot get key dot get object key dot get object key, and we're done. Now with this done, we can go ahead and replace, inside our game manager, we can go ahead and replace all this stuff. Now we don't need a reference to key input or key event. We don't need key event anymore. Neither do we need key input. We already have input manager, and that's enough. So yeah, now what we're just going to change this is, we're going to change this from this, and we're just going to say input manager get key pressed, and I'm just going to simply say W. I'm just going to copy and paste all of this over here, all of this code. To make it a little bit more readable and a little bit more friendly to the eyes. So W, this is going down. So S, A, and then D, and I'm just going to say input manager dot is first pressed, and then I'm going to change this from this, and I'm going to change it to grenade, because we're pressing the grenade button. Why am I still getting an error? Input manager is first pressed. I don't think there should be a problem. Yeah, I just have to say grenade. Okay, something clearly, there's an error somewhere here. Now pointer input manager line number 53. Key input get key pressed. Okay, key input wasn't initialized yet. So first of all, we need to make sure that key input isn't now. If key input and if key input is now, we return. Equals to now. We're simply just gonna say return. I'm just gonna create, okay, that is now. I'm just gonna create a new function that key input and then call it that is now. Or we're simply going to say try catch. Now I'm just gonna have a try catch block. So basically this is a way of dealing with exceptions inside Java. And then catch return false. Exception A. So this is a way of dealing with what is called exceptions in Java. You just throw a try catch block. I'm gonna do the same thing here. So I was getting a null pointer exception because as I remember, I said there's two different threads. It says there's an exception in thread number 2. So when thread number 1 runs, it will start before thread number 2. So therefore, if an object exists in thread number 2 and it hasn't, and thread number 2 hasn't been started yet, there's going to be conflict. And exception handling helps us get rid of the conflict. Catch exception E. Or we should actually catch a null pointer exception. It's just that I'm too lazy to write null pointer. It's just too long. And yeah, so we're just gonna say return false. Format the code and then run it. Okay, for some reason it's not working and I don't know why that is. Let me just pause and find out why it's not working. Oh yeah, I just, rookie mistake. I wouldn't create an input manager object. It looks like that is why we were getting an exception anyways. So yeah. So anyway, so first things I want to do is create an initialize method inside here, inside the game manager. It's quite important to always have an initialize method to initialize all the other stuff inside the game. And I'm gonna call it initialize init for initialize. And we're just gonna do creations of stuff. So I'm just gonna go private input manager. Input manager, and then I'm just going to say input manager goes to new input manager, equals to new input manager, and side here right after we call run, first thing we do is initialize. Call the initialize method and then do everything else. So now everything is working, and every single time whenever we need to add an action, if we don't have to write those weird key codes. Instead of writing key event.vk whatever, we can just simply use words that we know. We can just simply say input manager.get-key pressed to W S A D, whatever key. So if you need to add more keys, you can simply just hop into the input manager and then copy and paste some of this code and then just create your keys. Control C and then Control. So now if I wanted to add a Z key, I just go right down to Z and then I just change this to Z. And then it makes it way a lot easier for me to be able to make it easier for me to add lots of other keys. And yeah. So guys, this was a long, very long tutorial video. So yeah, but I think it's worth it anyway. So yeah. So we are done with our input manager for now. Later on, we're going to add mouse. I think we should also add like mouse inputs so that we don't have to refer to the mouse input class inside the game manager if we need to. We just simply refer to the input manager and then we can get the mouse positions and all that stuff. So yeah, that's it guys. So if you liked, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. So guys, peace.